It's really up to you, the instructor, to set a safe working environment. And to do that, you can help kids understand that woodworking teaches valuable life skills, and at the same time, they need to maintain safety. You will not tolerate horsing around, playing around, or anything. You will let them know that if they are able to maintain a safe environment and act respectfully with each other and use the tools appropriately, they may continue. If not, they may have to go into timeout even for the rest of the session, but they can come back the following session. We've developed 5 simple rules that you can teach the kids. So let's begin. In the toolbox, you have a safety poster. And the first rule is to be patient. So you can ask the kids, what does it mean to you to be patient? And they'll talk about, well, when I get frustrated, I should take a break. It's perfect. In fact, another thing you can train them is that if they get frustrated, you may have a log or a big block of wood where they can simply hammer nails. This is also very nice because you can use it at the shoulders of classes. When kids come in, when kids are leaving, it helps with the downtime where accidents often happen. You can see in this example, we used one last summer and it got a lot of use. All 6 sides are covered in nails, and it was a great safety valve to help kids let frustrations out or just hammer. Montessori's been doing this for 100 years, and it's a great practice. You may already do it at a camp or at your school. The second rule is that your hand is not a clamp. And what we mean by that is that almost all woodworking accidents happen because people were holding the wood with one hand and using a tool with the other. So we've developed our proprietary woodworking stations that lift on and off your tables. They can extend to fit different size tables, but they can hold the wood in all the different orientations and all the different woodworking operations. So let's see what those look like. If you're sawing, you can saw with one hand, and the wood is pulled against this fence so that you don't need to hold it. If you have young children, you can teach them a two-handed sawing technique, which is covered in a different video. You can clamp down the wood, and again, they can saw with 2 hands. For some projects, you do a cut called a rip cut, which means cutting along the grain. And for that, there's a vise, which is made of oak, very sturdy, and you can use that again with a 2-handed technique and saw safely. For planing, you can put the wood in horizontal in the vise, and it often helps to have a small piece of wood underneath to keep the vise from racking. So what I'm doing now is I'm slipping a piece of wood in underneath and then putting the piece I want to work on top. I'm tightening the vise. Take my block plane, and the wood is held securely while I'm making fine shavings. The same goes for using a coping saw. 2-handed technique, crossing the thumbs, and the wood is held securely. For hammering, you can take the wood out. If you want, you can use a hold down to keep the wood steady. Hammer nails. And hammer nails. Or for drilling, same story. The wood is held securely. With drilling, there's a lot of torque applied, and the wood can sometimes spin. If they drill into the tabletop woodworking station, it's not encouraged, but it's okay. It beats drilling into your tables. But what really matters is that the density of the wood in the woodworking stations is much denser than the wood you will be drilling. so that it not only protects, but it slows any potential damage. I'll show you a great trick when we talk about drills to use tape to create a simple depth stop to discourage kids from drilling too deep. And finally, we use brace and bit drills, and by putting the wood so when using a brace and bit, it's the same story. You have the wood in a vertical position, and you can drill into it. We'll be covering each of these in depth in their own videos. The third rule of Maplewoodshop is to keep both hands behind the cutting edge. What this means is that 2 hands are on the tool. Here's a couple examples. With a screwdriver, 1 hand is steering and 1 hand is pushing. With a block plane, 1 hand is pushing down, 1 hand is pushing forward. Even though there's a razor-sharp blade on the bottom, accidents are very rare when both hands are on top of the tool. Most importantly, with the coping saw, we recommend crossing both thumbs. Keeps both hands on the handle and away from the blade. This is the most common way to get a nick using a coping saw. So, 2 hands on the handle, no injuries. The fourth rule of Maplewoodshop is to cut away from yourself. What that means in practice means think about what would happen if the tool slipped. If the screwdriver slips, will you stab yourself? Well, you won't if both hands are on the tool. If you're using a saw, and you're cutting sideways, and you slip, you're leaving a lot of space so that it goes past you. The fifth rule of Maplewoodshop is to be gentle. The tools are sharp, and kids don't need to force it. You'll notice a pattern here. The first and the fifth rule are about mental presence. The middle 3 rules are the things that your shop teacher might have yelled at you from across the room. So we don't encourage yelling, but we do encourage mental presence, and we encourage safety. With these 5 rules and your leadership, we believe you can maintain a safe environment.